Have you ever found yourself wondering if certain habits that once felt natural and harmless might carry new consequences as you get older? As we move past 65, paying close attention to our bodies becomes more important than ever. Many of us are already aware of the changes that come with aging: slower recovery time, lower energy, and a bit more stiffness in the joints. But what if a private, often unspoken habit, masturbation, could also be playing a bigger role in our overall health than we realize? In this video, we're going to talk openly and respectfully about a subject that's rarely discussed but deeply relevant. For decades, self-pleasure has been viewed as a natural part of life, and it certainly can be. But recent discussions among health professionals are raising important questions about how frequent masturbation after age 65 may impact your cardiovascular system, nervous system, hormone balance, sleep, and even emotional well-being. This isn't about judgment, it's about information. You deserve to know how your body responds now, not how it did in your 30s or 40s. Because the truth is, our bodies change, and what once was harmless might now require a bit more care. We'll explore what science and experience are showing us, how short bursts of activity can affect your heart rate, how hormone cycles shift with age, and how some surprising symptoms like fatigue, restlessness, or even emotional detachment may be connected to this very personal habit. Stick with me to the end, because what you'll learn might just change the way you think about your daily energy, your sleep, and your overall quality of life. And most importantly, it'll help you make choices that support your health in this new chapter of life. 1. Unexpected strain on the cardiovascular system. As we age, one of the most important systems to monitor is our cardiovascular system. Your heart, arteries, and blood vessels work tirelessly to keep your body functioning, but they don't bounce back the way they used to. And here's something many people over 65 don't realize. Even brief, intense activities like masturbation can unexpectedly strain your heart if done too frequently or without proper awareness. Now let's be clear, this isn't about shame or guilt, it's about being smart with your health. Masturbation can raise your heart rate quickly, similar to a short burst of exercise. But unlike a walk around the block or climbing stairs, this kind of activity often happens without any warm-up or pacing, meaning your heart may be caught off guard. Think about it this way. If walking up a flight of stairs leaves you slightly winded, or if carrying a few grocery bags gets your heart racing, then it's no surprise that a private, physically intense moment could do the same, only faster. Older adults are more prone to high blood pressure, irregular heart rhythms, and less flexible arteries. That means sudden spikes in heart rate or blood pressure can lead to dizziness, fatigue, or even mild chest discomfort. In rare cases, it could trigger more serious cardiac symptoms, especially in individuals with pre-existing conditions. Consider William, a 72-year-old retired engineer. He lived a relatively active lifestyle but started feeling an odd tightness in his chest after private moments. At first he brushed it off, but when it happened more than once, he brought it up with his doctor, who confirmed that these episodes weren't uncommon and advised William to be more mindful of how his body was reacting. The takeaway? Listen to your body. If you notice fatigue, lightheadedness, or discomfort after any activity, including this one, it's worth paying attention. Aging doesn't mean giving up life's pleasures, but it does mean learning how to enjoy them safely with a bit more awareness and care for your heart. 2. Nervous system fatigue and energy depletion. You've probably noticed it. The energy you once had in your 30s or 40s just isn't there anymore. Tasks that used to take an hour now take a little longer, and naps aren't a luxury, they're a necessity. But what if one of the quiet culprits draining your energy isn't something you eat or do outside, but something far more personal? As we get older, our nervous system, responsible for regulating everything from mood and movement to focus and sleep, becomes more sensitive to stimulation, and that includes sexual stimulation. Frequent masturbation may feel like a quick stress reliever in the moment, but afterward you might find yourself unusually tired, foggy-headed, or emotionally flat, and not realize why. Think of your nervous system like a battery. In your younger years, that battery recharged quickly. A busy day? No problem. A late night? You bounce back. But after 65, that battery takes longer to recharge, and overusing it through repeated, intense stimulation can quietly wear it down over time. Take Richard, a 69-year-old retired high school teacher. He found himself needing multiple naps just to get through the day and couldn't shake a lingering mental fatigue. At first, he blamed aging, but after reducing how often he engaged in certain private activities, he noticed something surprising. His energy levels improved, he slept better, and he felt more mentally alert. The reason lies in neurotransmitters like dopamine. This feel-good chemical gets released during pleasurable activities, but when overused, it can lead to what's called dopamine burnout, where your brain becomes less responsive and everyday things start to feel dull or draining. This doesn't mean you need to stop entirely, but it does mean your body deserves time to recover. Just like with exercise or any other kind of stimulation, if you've been feeling off, drained, or mentally sluggish without a clear explanation, it might be time to consider how your habits are affecting your nervous system and how small changes can make a big difference. 3. Disrupted sleep patterns and increased nighttime restlessness. For many older adults, getting a full night of restful sleep becomes more difficult with age. You may fall asleep easily, only to wake up multiple times throughout the night, feeling restless or groggy the next morning. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. And one overlooked contributor could be your nighttime habits, including masturbation. Many people believe that engaging in this activity before bed helps them relax and fall asleep faster. And that might have been true in your younger years, but as we age, our body's chemistry and nervous system function differently, and what once promoted sleep might now be interfering with it. Here's why. During sexual stimulation, the brain releases dopamine, a neurotransmitter tied to pleasure and alertness. While dopamine feels good in the moment, too much of it, especially close to bedtime, can interfere with melatonin production. Melatonin is the hormone responsible for helping you wind down and fall into deep restorative sleep. When dopamine levels are elevated, your brain may struggle to shift into sleep mode. Take Gerald, a 74-year-old retiree from Ohio. He always believed his bedtime routine, which included private time, helped him sleep. But over time, he noticed he was waking up more often during the night and rarely felt refreshed in the morning. After reading about the connection between dopamine and sleep disruption, he adjusted his habits, and within weeks he was sleeping more soundly and waking up with more energy. There's also the issue of nervous system stimulation. Even mild arousal can increase heart rate and activate the sympathetic nervous system, the same system that keeps you alert during stressful situations. For those already dealing with nighttime muscle cramps, restless leg syndrome, or light sleep, this stimulation can make it even harder to settle down for the night. The good news? Small adjustments like avoiding intense stimulation right before bed can help rebalance your sleep cycle. If you're struggling with broken sleep or frequent awakenings, it may be time to consider whether your habits are helping or silently working against your rest. 4. Prostate irritation and urinary issues. As men age, changes in urinary health often become more noticeable. Getting up more often at night to use the bathroom, feeling like you haven't fully emptied your bladder, or experiencing a weaker stream. These are all common signs of aging, but did you know that frequent masturbation can sometimes worsen these symptoms, especially for men over 65? The prostate gland naturally enlarges with age, a condition known as benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH. When the prostate becomes more sensitive due to frequent stimulation, it can trigger mild inflammation or irritation. That added pressure on the bladder and surrounding tissues may increase urgency or lead to discomfort during urination, even if everything felt normal before. Take Leonard, a 71-year-old retired construction worker. He was healthy and active, but he began noticing he had to get up 2 or 3 times a night just to use the bathroom. He also started to feel a slight tightness afterward, something new for him. After talking with his doctor, he learned that overstimulation of the prostate could be contributing to these symptoms. He scaled back and made some small lifestyle adjustments, and soon enough, his nighttime bathroom trips became far less frequent. Another factor often overlooked is the pelvic floor muscles, which play a key role in bladder control. These muscles, like any other in the body, can become fatigued with overuse. Repeated strain from frequent sexual activity, even solo, can lead to weakness or imbalance, contributing to sudden urges or occasional leakage, especially when sneezing, laughing, or lifting something heavy. While occasional activity isn't necessarily harmful, doing it too often without proper recovery time may increase urinary discomfort or reduce your sense of control. If you've noticed increased urgency, slower flow, or a feeling of pressure in the lower abdomen, it might be worth considering how your habits are affecting your prostate and bladder health. A few simple changes, like spacing out stimulation and incorporating pelvic floor exercises, can help protect your comfort and confidence moving forward. 5. Hormonal imbalance and mood swings. As we get older, hormonal balance becomes more delicate, and even small disruptions can have a big impact on how we feel from day to day. Many people expect some shifts in mood, motivation, or energy as part of aging, but what often goes unnoticed is how frequent masturbation may be quietly contributing to emotional ups and downs, especially for men over 65. Every time you engage in sexual activity, your body releases a cascade of hormones: dopamine, which brings pleasure, oxytocin, which promotes connection, and prolactin, which helps the body reset afterward. In moderation, these chemicals support your well-being, but when stimulated too frequently, they can cause your brain's reward system to become overloaded, leading to what some experts call dopamine fatigue or burnout. This is when your brain becomes less sensitive to pleasure signals, making daily activities feel dull or unmotivating. You might notice this as a lack of drive, emotional flatness, or irritability without any clear reason. Edward, a 68-year-old former accountant, experienced this firsthand. Once an upbeat and even-tempered man, he began noticing sudden mood shifts. Some days he felt focused and clear-headed, but others he was irritable, withdrawn, or simply off. When he took a step back and reduced the frequency of his private habits, he found his emotional state began to stabilize. The fog lifted, and his motivation slowly returned. Another hormone to consider is testosterone, which naturally declines with age. Some research suggests that frequent ejaculation may temporarily lower testosterone levels, particularly if paired with other stressors like poor sleep or low activity levels. Low testosterone can lead to fatigue, lower libido, mood swings, and even subtle changes in muscle tone or memory. The key here isn't to eliminate the habit, but to understand how often is too often for your body at this stage in life. By giving yourself time to rest and reset, you may find your mood becomes more predictable, your energy more stable, and your overall well-being more balanced. 6. Reduce sensitivity and diminish pleasure over time. One of the lesser-known effects of frequent masturbation, especially after the age of 65, is a gradual reduction in sensitivity and pleasure. For many older adults, this change happens so slowly that it's easy to dismiss as just part of getting older. But in many cases, it's not just aging. It's overstimulation. Our nervous system is incredibly adaptive when it receives the same type of stimulation repeatedly, especially without variation or adequate recovery time. The body's sensory receptors can become desensitized. That means the same touch or pressure that once felt exciting may start to feel dull, requiring more intensity or time to achieve the same level of satisfaction. Take Robert, a 73-year-old former jazz musician. He'd always enjoyed a vibrant personal life and saw no harm in keeping certain habits into his retirement years. But over time, he began to notice that what once came naturally now took more effort, and the sensations weren't quite as rewarding. It wasn't until he spaced things out and allowed his body time to rest that he began to regain some of the sensitivity he thought was gone for good. Another factor at play is how the brain processes pleasure. Excessive stimulation triggers repeated dopamine spikes, and over time, the brain's reward system can become less responsive, meaning not only do physical sensations dull, but emotional excitement fades too. That can affect not just intimate experiences, but also enthusiasm for hobbies, relationships, or everyday joy. The good news? This process is often reversible. By reducing frequency, varying techniques, and giving the body and mind time to reset, many people report improvements in both sensitivity and enjoyment. It's not about stopping completely, it's about finding the right rhythm for this chapter of life. So if you've been feeling like things just don't click the way they used to, it might not be all in your head or your age. It could simply be your body asking for a little space to recharge. 7. Increased feelings of loneliness and emotional detachment. As we grow older, maintaining meaningful emotional connections becomes just as important as staying physically healthy. Yet for many older adults, loneliness slowly creeps in. And often, we don't notice the subtle ways our habits can either support or weaken our sense of connection. One such habit that's rarely discussed is frequent masturbation and its potential role in emotional detachment. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with seeking comfort in solitude, but when solo activities become a regular substitute for emotional intimacy or social interaction, it can quietly reinforce isolation. Over time, the brain can begin to rewire its sense of comfort, preferring quick, predictable pleasure over the sometimes complex but deeply fulfilling nature of human connection. Take James, a 75-year-old widower living in North Carolina. After losing his wife, he naturally turned to familiar routines to fill the quiet. Over time, he noticed he was reaching out to friends less, skipping family events, and spending more time alone. At first, it felt easier, but eventually he realized he was feeling more emotionally flat and disconnected from the world around him. When he made a conscious decision to reduce solitary habits and invest more time in community activities, he noticed a surprising lift in his mood and a renewed sense of connection. Human touch, eye contact, shared laughter, these experiences trigger the release of oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. But when those interactions are replaced by solo habits, oxytocin levels may drop, leaving you feeling emotionally empty, even if your physical needs are being met. This doesn't mean you have to give up privacy or personal comfort. It simply means being mindful of balance. If social interactions have started to feel like a chore, or if emotional detachment has crept in, it may be time to reconnect with people, with purpose, and with the deeper parts of yourself. Because no matter your age, emotional closeness still matters, and small changes can open the door to big shifts in how connected and alive you feel each day. 8. Pelvic floor weakness and reduced bladder control. As we age, many of us notice subtle changes in how our bodies function, especially when it comes to bladder control. You might start making more trips to the bathroom, feel sudden urgency, or even experience a little leakage when coughing or laughing. While these symptoms are often blamed on aging alone, frequent masturbation, especially without proper recovery, may quietly contribute to the issue by weakening the pelvic floor muscles. The pelvic floor is a group of muscles that support the bladder, prostate, and lower abdominal organs. Like any muscle group, they can become fatigued or strained when overused. Repeated and intense stimulation, even during solo activities, can lead to muscle exhaustion, making it harder for these muscles to do their job properly. Take Harold, a 70-year-old retired mechanic from Michigan. For years, he enjoyed an active lifestyle and rarely thought twice about his bathroom habits. But recently, he noticed increased urgency, especially at night, and occasional dribbling during the day. After doing some research and speaking with a urologist, he discovered that his frequent stimulation habits might be playing a role. By reducing the frequency and adding simple pelvic floor exercises like Kegels to his daily routine, Harold saw real improvement within weeks. Another factor to consider is nerve sensitivity. The pelvic region is filled with sensory nerves that help regulate bladder function. Overstimulation can confuse these nerve signals, causing your brain to misread bladder fullness or urgency. That's why you may feel the need to go even when your bladder isn't full, or wake up multiple times during the night. The good news? These symptoms are often manageable and in many cases reversible. Simple changes, such as spacing out activity, staying hydrated, and strengthening pelvic muscles, can make a noticeable difference in both comfort and confidence. Your quality of life matters. If you're noticing changes in bladder control or muscle strength, your body might be asking for a little extra care and recovery time. Listening now can prevent bigger issues down the road. As we've explored today, certain habits that once seemed harmless or even beneficial can carry different consequences as we grow older. Masturbation, while a natural part of life, can have unexpected effects on the aging body when done too frequently or without awareness. From placing strain on the heart to affecting sleep, energy, hormone balance, and even emotional well-being, it's clear that moderation and mindfulness matter more than ever after 65. The goal here isn't to create fear or shame. In fact, quite the opposite. It's to empower you with knowledge so you can make informed choices that support your health and quality of life. Your body is constantly giving you feedback. Whether it's a dip in energy, a change in mood, or disrupted sleep, these signals are worth listening to. The good news? Many of the effects we've discussed are reversible. Small adjustments like spacing out activity, adding pelvic floor exercises, improving sleep routines, and engaging more with others can make a noticeable difference in how you feel both physically and emotionally. Aging doesn't mean giving up joy or intimacy. It means learning how to adapt and care for yourself in a new phase of life. By tuning into your body's changing needs, you can continue to live with vitality, confidence, and connection. So take a moment to reflect. Which of these insights stood out to you? Have you noticed any of these signs in your own experience? You're not alone, and your story matters. If you found this helpful, consider sharing it with someone else who might benefit. And remember, it's never too late to make positive, healthy changes that support the life you deserve. We'd love to hear from you. Which of these signs resonated most with you? Leave a comment below and share one insight you're taking with you today. Your thoughts truly matter and help us create content that speaks to your experience. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share it with a friend. Your support means the world to us. Thank you for spending your time with us today, and we hope to see you back for our next video. Until then, take care and keep shining.